Let's now start to navigate through some of the universal laws that this ritual, this morning routine sets in motion. Really important to understand that the science behind this sets these laws. These are, immutable laws. We can't change these. This is not like something that the politicians can do. If they don't like something, they can just go and change it on paper. This is actually laws for real life. So as you begin to go into a contemplation of all of this, start to recognize the power of aligning your life to these principles. And as you do, you'll witness a beautiful blooming of your life, such as the sun creates the blooming of a flower in spring. Only a flower knows when it's ready to open to these, and only you will be ready to know when you can begin applying them in your life. And so don't accept them as truth until you test them out for yourself. I think everything has to be done through the lens of direct experience. All I'm doing is translating my own direct experiences of communing with these laws and aligning my life and principles really into them, and noticing every area of my own life bloom. So I'm just sharing some of the little life hacks that I've been doing that has really been working, and this has been probably the key to align more and more and more to natural law. And as you do that, you just watch your life blossom and bloom. So the first thing that I want to share with you is the law of acceptance. And the law of acceptance is really just, based upon accepting those things you cannot change, but also, as St. Francis in his prayer said, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So this is really about acceptance of what is when you can't change it, and if you don't necessarily like it, can I change it? And if you can change it, the courage to go on and change it. And then obviously what wisdom comes is the wisdom to know the difference. So that law of acceptance is important, because acceptance is a principle that you can govern your life by. If you have something that in your life that's don't like, it comes sometimes. Having acceptance is really important to what is. And for example, it can give you a lot of peace, right? But bear in mind that you don't have to accept it, right? You can choose not to. And if you go against what it is, for example, just notice that if you can't change it, but you're resisting it, okay, you're creating a friction in your flow. So that wisdom comes with clarity. When is the time I must act? And I believe the world is being really asked this question now around, many of these issues that we're facing with the V, as it's going around the world, and the global governmental response to the V, and what's going on about that. At some point, humanity is going to have to stand up and have the courage to not accept the things that we can change, and there's a lot that we can be doing. So let's hope humanity rises together on dealing with this issue that's facing us. The next thing is I want to shed light to that this morning ritual brings into motion is the law of attraction. I've already mentioned about it. It's just simply the vibrational state. Everything has a frequency, everything has a vibration. Whatever you're holding as a vibration will be attracted upon yourself. So therefore, if I can change my vibration, I can change what gets attracted towards me. So for example, if you're wanting to attract love into your life, but you're scared and fearful of relationship because you've been hurt before, are you holding the state of love in your life, or are you holding a frequency of attracting more betrayal towards you? So this is the deeper healing that needs to be contemplated as you start to level up your belief systems into full frequency alignment to what it is you want to bring towards you. And so you can see that, this law is playing out in your life right now. You are holding the frequency of your reality. So take a look in a moment to contemplate your life and your reality right now. Is it kind of in alignment with your vision? And if it is, great. That means you've done the inner work to bring your frequency up to the point where you've actually got the life that you've imagined. And when I began all of this work, certainly working on the energetic portions of things, I was vibrationally very far from where I am today. But I had the vision of really what I wanted in my life, and the biggest thing was really just a loving, harmonious relationship and family life. And I've I think I've achieved that right now. And of course, we still have our glitches from time to time. And we had a lot of glitches in the beginning when the two of us came together, because we were still dealing with our own conditioning. It was kind of like we were dating each other's parents. But we worked through that very quickly. And, that kind of longing of having that harmonious frequency is something that we work through and towards. And so no matter where you're beginning from, right, just know that it's possible. Right? And you will continue working on it as you keep upping your vibration. And so everything then starts feeding into this one question: where am I vibrating at? Is this raising my vibration and lowering my vibration? That was one of the big decision points where I decided to give up alcohol, not drink alcohol, and it was I was noticing I was binging on it, and that wasn't serving me, and I just knew I would be capping my potential. So now, very occasionally I might drink some alcohol, but usually as a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month thing, I'm a non-drinker, and that's allowed my frequency and vibration to remain high. It was a big decision point for me, and that was basically based around this law of attraction. So the next law I want to share with you is the law of belief. And that is just simply how whatever you believe to be true happens. So what you want to start to do is you want to start examine your beliefs. That law of belief is so fundamental, and quite often the beliefs we just don't question that we have inside of us. And so anytime that you're triggered or you're upset, you may want to work through this constellation, because your thought and your feeling is at the surface, right? And underneath that thought, when you've been triggered, irritated, frustrated, upset, angry, usually it's in response to something that's happened to you. And then underneath that, there must be a belief. That belief has been formulated through your conditioning. And that belief has been created through either an unmet need or a direct trauma. And that unmet need or direct trauma underneath, that's a wound. And that whole constellation there has been programmed into you. So then when you come into contact with my belief, you really want to ask the question, is this thought true? Can I be sure that this thought is true? Absolutely certain, is it true? Or is it a belief? Now, what's this belief about? Is this belief true? Why do I have this belief? And you can contemplate and going down and down and down and down and drilling down until you get to the core pieces of it. Because whatever you hold as a belief, magnifies into your reality. And so if you take a look at your life is held together by two principles: your current vibration and your current set of beliefs. Change your belief, change your life. Change your vibration, change your life. Right? Really core fundamental principles, and this process of the morning ritual is going to really help start that going through. Another law that I want to bring forward that, this is working for you is the law of commitment. Nothing happens until you commit. So commitment means focus. And a lot of people can kind of get a glimpse of a vision for life. And I say there's three simple things you need to get in motion for your life. First up is vision, direction. Get direction sorted. But what a lot of people miss is the focus, right? And that focus is the commitment to that vision. And very often people can be pulled off into other people's visions for life, other urgencies, other emergencies, and they don't protect or focus upon their commitment to their own vision. So at some point, if you want to change a particular area of your life, you usually have to go pretty deep into it. And when I decided I wanted to, when Noah was born, I decided I wanted to experience, I wanted to be wealthy, not just to make a living, but to make a life. I wanted to sort of have abundance so I could have choice points for my family and my children. It wasn't just about me anymore. And I'd spent zero time studying wealth creation. I was mainly focused on, working with clients and helping their lives, but I hadn't decided to choose to do anything with that extra money that I got. And so, I just put it in the bank and left it there. But then when I decided to be wealthy, I thought, I better learn about investing. So I had the commitment to learn about it. That's the focus. Where's my bandwidth? And I really focused about it in the same way I focused about energy medicine and healing, and then shamanism, and then spirituality. And so that commitment has to follow. And so the law of commitment is that anything you focus on expands. So that commitment, you really owe it to yourself, that any area of your choosing, there's no right or wrong what to choose, it's just your choice. So the consequences of where you choose to put your attention and focus will expand. And so the law of commitment sets that in motion. So commit. At the same time of committing, you have to surrender. This is the toughest one. Oh my goodness, surrendering, because what the ego wants to do is control. And the ego and the reptilian complex and the brainstem back here is all around survival, keeping yourself safe. And because of our layers of conditioning that we're receiving, keeping ourselves safe is usually keeping ourselves inside our comfort zone. And whatever that comfort zone is for us, we want to stay inside like a little circle. What I've noticed that all of the successes in life happen outside the comfort zone. And you have to feel safe in the unknown space. And that is this kind of level of surrender that you need to go into your life, to surrender, because you can't control it. And one of the mechanisms of control is that when our ego's in charge, we project ahead with our third eye. This is just one system of how we hold control. There are a number of ones, but this is a common one. Project ahead with the third eye with our vision, and we activate our back, the chakras of our back, which are our will centers, and we look to control and manipulate that future into being by controlling every little piece of it. And so surrender is a whole new way, because what that is doing is that is actually collapsing the wave function of the particle. Many, for example, NLP science is based upon faulty quantum laws. They don't really understand deep enough quantum law, because what actually setting a very direct outcome goal does is collapsing the wave function. And when people become attached to that kind of outcome, what ends up happening is that they end up just having that only outcome available for them. There's something in quantum physics called the juxtaposition of the particle, which means the electron around the outside of the nucleus is in every single conceivable position all at once. It's in quantum potential. And our human attention starts to collapse all those wavelengths rather than having it all open. So if we hold intention and we surrender to how it comes and how it looks at the end, we can hold the frequency of what it feels like without being stuck to kind of what it looks like. And so surrendering really means letting go of the small self, letting go of the ego, letting go of the little me, and allowing and aligning ourselves to the divine. And in part of a journey in consciousness, you end up expanding up and you go through something called soul absorption. And the soul is the intermediary to the oversoul, or what we might call the monad. And that enormous consciousness field is us in a unified family of souls, not us as an individual soul. And as your consciousness is ready, you go through a soul absorption where your soul migrates up into the unified field of a big family of souls. And that enormous energy field then starts to come down through your hologram. And what to do to go to that point of your spiritual development, you have to be able to let go, and you have to be able to operate with natural law's principle of divine will. And divine will is letting go of thy will. And to do that, you have to be in service to others. And as you let that go, you access divine will, which is the organizing principle coming through like a force field to our planet right now. And so that force field of that unconditional love of Creator is coming in to organize itself more according to natural law, to some of the principles of sovereignty and cooperation and oneness and all of these beautiful things. Our whole operating systems on the earth currently are not set up for those. That's why we're going through this amazing shake-up on the planet right now, because those old systems are misaligned to natural law. It's prime creators, God, the divine presence's kind of will right now to upgrade our planet into more alignment, harmonic alignment with these organizing principles. That's why we're having a massive technological upgrade right now, moving ourselves into this new era of technology, which is allowing us to have organizational systems where the many are in control of kind of organizing ourselves rather than just the few. And so there's a massive upgrade with blockchain technology, distributed ledger, and all these new operating parameters based upon the many organizing themselves. One simple example of divine will coming through the planet. In your own life, how can you let go and surrender to the divine will? What is coming through you? What can I do? How can I let go? We need to be like a leaf going down the river. And the river always leads to source, but we just have to let go and surrender. And in that state of surrendering, trust that the divine can provide providence on our path. And as we can trust that, we can learn to let go of our ego. And the difference here is like the difference between rowing your boat across the ocean and sailing your boat, using the natural energies of the environment coming into it. And surrender's a real big one, and we're all practicing that. I'm still practicing more and more, attempting to yield and surrender and to allow. It's a big principle for many of us who have had such deep conditioning that I have to do it all alone, I'm gonna do it all myself and make it happen. It's all about allowing things to come through me, not from me, and that needs surrender. Forgiveness. Okay, I've touched on forgiveness already inside the morning ritual, and forgiveness is just letting go of any resentments. Because if you're holding a frequency of resentment in your system, guess what you draw towards you? More of that same energy, right? More of the resentment you're holding towards that person who betrayed you. What do you bring towards you? More betrayal, okay? More kind of disappointment. Whatever it is that happened, you bring that frequency, the resentment brings it towards you again and again until you clear it and upgrade from it. And so as you're starting to look into your life, who do you need to forgive? What do you need to forgive? Do you need to forgive yourself? Right? A big part of this is forgiveness to ourselves for some of our past actions. And that's been some of my own personal, most powerful, potent kind of forgiveness rituals, has been to myself for past actions I have taken outside of alignment. So contemplate that, because any of those little hidden frequency resentments just bring more of the same. Next up is the law of giving and receiving. And this is a real key one for prosperity, right? Not only often sometimes do there's a certain patterns of energy. One of them is called a compensated merging pattern. Sometimes when you don't receive enough of the love of your mother in the first year or so of life, you end up feeling like you've never had your needs met, and you end up pulling on others. And that pulling on others ends up you cording into them and sucking and pulling on that energy because you've never had enough in the first 18 months of life. A compensated merging is when, rather than pulling on others, you shift the perspective and you overgive to them. You give everything and deplete all of your kind of resources. You want to find a nice balance and allow the giving and receiving to go, where you can give, but you can also be open to receive. And many people with that compensated merging don't allow the receiving. The allowing of the receiving is such an important piece, right? So often you have to go through, these aspects that are inside of us that could be like, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve to receive anything nice. And then the other way it can be is that if you've got, say, poverty consciousness or fear or scarcity mindset or scarcity belief systems, there's not enough to go around. There's not enough inside my system. I don't deserve it. I'm not receiving enough. You end up being resistant to paying those bills or to giving things out. It freezes the abundance and prosperity wheel. The prosperity wheel is always moving, but you have to give it out and get back and give it out and get back, and you have to allow it to come back. And then in that allowing, when it comes back in, yes, I deserve it, and thank you for giving, I'm going to give back out again. It starts the circulation. And the circulation is that frequency of prosperity, which is different to a frequency, say, of wealth, which is hoarding and abundance. And I honestly sometimes feel sorry for billionaires, right? And it sounds funny to say, but I wouldn't want to swap my life for theirs in any way, because often the billionaires have so much fear about what they're losing. So they end up hoarding everything. And so often, this giving and receiving is such a really important piece. So yeah, how can you give out? And start by, 50 cents, $1, your time, your love and appreciation, and then allow it to come back to you. That's really the key, because that sets in motion universal law. Let's take a look at gratitude. Gratitude and appreciation. The attitude of gratitude opens up your cells to receive. So really appreciating, what you have in your life. And that's the secret to a happy life. It's not having what you want, but it's wanting what you have and truly appreciating what you have. It's easy to compare yourself to others who are further ahead, but it's also just as easy with a perception shift to compare yourself with what you've had in the past to what you have now, or others who are less fortunate than yourself, and just really appreciating for what you have. And that sets a frequency to create allowing to kind of come in. Happiness and joy, another natural law. And that's just these emotions. As you go up the emotional guidance scale, appreciation, love, and joy are at the highest frequencies of those emotions. And your emotions are like the magnets to attract towards you. So whatever you're holding an emotion as, and if it's happiness and joy, guess what you get back? more happiness and joy situations come towards you because you hold it inside yourself. You're not seeking it in others. And that's the key. Oh, when I find my beloved, suddenly I'm going to be happiness and joy. Right? You're waiting for it to get it when you meet someone. And I don't know if you know anything about, meeting your beloved as a twin ray, but I can honestly say the first piece of that doesn't necessarily always happiness and joy. There's that there for sure, but your twin, your beloved, is going to reflect back to you hard anything that's in the shadow states. So often they're the most tumultuous, relationships in the beginning because you're literally facing yourself, your energetic twin that has come into earth with, that fused consciousness is showing up in your life to reflect all the pieces you don't like to look at. So this is really an important piece to just recognize as a little segue, the twin flame relationship. But happiness and joy must be done inside yourself first. Be happiness and joy. Don't seek it. Be it, and then it follows you just like a tail follows a dog. Next up, the law of intention. And obviously anything that you're holding as a field of intent can come back to you, is drawn towards you. And the subtle thing about intention is that there are different faces of intention. You can have a split intention, for example. Now, how might that work? Well, there's a part of you, for example, that wants to leave your job and go off and follow your passions to find a way that you can live as an artist. And then there's another part of you that's scared of leaving your job because of money. So then you have a split. And what happens in a split intention is nothing. Nothing happens. So you must take a look and to examine, any intentions that are split. And sometimes you can have like a negative intention, right, held in the system. You draw towards you negative experiences because you like the emotional charge that it gives you. You like the conflict, you like the drama. You've been brought up in a house of drama and conflict, and you like the emotional charge that it gives you. So sometimes you want to be a little bit aware of, any negative intentions that may be drawn towards you, negative experiences that are feeding you in some way and creating a drama. As well as being split or negative, you could maybe hold what we might call a forced intention. A forced intention is when that ego kicks in and you're making things happen from personal will, from the little ego's point of view, rather than just, letting go and allowing things to happen from a place of an effortless intention. Holding a beautiful, effortless intention is important, and that means overcoming the drive to do it from the little me of the ego. Then there's aligned and misaligned. So a misaligned intention is that you may have something that you really want to do from your personality, but it might be misaligned with your soul. So when we talk about aligned intention, I'm talking about the full range of vertical, meaning your higher self and your monadic or oversoul and soul and physical incarnate, physical identity is all aligned up that vertical channel where everything is perfectly aligned. Because you can sort of choose to do other things within all of that, that might be outside of that alignment, but you're never going to really get the big results for your life until you integrate the vertical of intention right through your soul, oversoul, and avatar consciousness, that full blueprint of the totality of who you are. Get that real clear alignment. So ideally, we want to move away from split intention, negative intention, forced intention, and misaligned intention, and move more into a integrated, effortless, aligned, positive intent. And as you start to do that, because you've worked strongly on your hara and do learn that hara exercise, more and more will come to you effortlessly and easily as you start aligning with natural law. Natural law next is love. Okay, needs no introduction other than hold that frequency of love. All is drawn towards it. Love is the glue that binds the universe together. And of course, like happiness and joy, the key lesson here is to recognize love is inside of us, not outside of us in another relationship, but actually inside of us. Love is an internal thing that we radiate out and then draw towards us from that place of not needing anything from anyone else because we feel fulfilled inside of us. Next up, yes, we've still got a few to go, manifestation and materialization. So the laws of manifestation are drawn around many of these principles all put in motion together. You have to sort of have the field of intention, you have to have the frequency match, and you have to have action that's sort of coming from a surrendered place, coming from effortless intention. And all of these things, as you start to drop down these frequencies, to materialize it, you have to recognize that there's a level of thought that happens, the mental thought forms. There has to be a level of the unconditional love and emotions, because the thought provides the direction and the emotion provides the magnetism. Okay? Thought is the direction of what you're creating, and emotion creates the magnetism towards it. The bigger that you can feed into your emotions, right, the more you can attract it towards you. And then you need to match that with divine action. And action is required in the moment when you feel guided. Sometimes, for example, when I went to find the first rental property we moved into when we came to New Zealand, listening to the guidance, the first 3 weeks did nothing. And then all of a sudden, poof, spring into action. And then yes, we found the house, right? Following the guidance of when to act is important. Next up, non-attachment. Again, this goes with surrender. Non-attachment to an outcome. And I think what the ego can do sometimes is take a vision into the future and then attach onto that. My life has to be like that. It's like coming down that river on the leaf, but then throwing a rope with an anchor to a tree, staying fixated on the tree as attached to the tree, right? Because that's your vision and you can't deviate from that. There's a rigidity to what you're doing. And all the meanwhile, the water from the river is flowing under you, but you're stuck in place, right, to this tree because you're attached to it, okay? And you're thinking that's the vision for your life. It's the destination. But remember, in life, the journey is the destination. So cut off attachment and allow the river to take you to its course. Because if you hold yourself architected into these principles of natural law and you find your purpose and you align with it and you allow the divine presence to work through you, the river will take you to the ocean. And you just have to let go, surrender, and non-attach to any outcome that comes. 2 to go. I want to touch upon oneness, unity consciousness. Everything in this world and this universe actually comes from the same source, right? Everything is one. We are just simply individuated fragments of consciousness temporarily experiencing ourselves in this skin suit to provide further intelligence and experiences for Prime Creator from God to experience itself as one. And so there's an energy between us, and we are coming from that one source. We come from that one place. And so as we know that everything is actually unified, and this is all simply an illusion, although a persistent one, as Einstein said, we can start to learn that as we sort of support and help others, we're actually helping ourselves, because we're all one family, we're all one group of beings, all of us, and all the rest of it is just simply illusion. So the more that we can support and uplift others, the more that we're helping ourselves. And lastly, synchronicity. One of my favorites. When the synchronicities start to pop, you know that you're in flow. And flow is when you hold unconditional love, positive aligned intent, and allowing your life and surrendering your life into allowing the happiness and joy raving up inside you. And what it does is it creates these intersection points, these frequencies like coinciding lines or coincidences. A coincidence is a coinciding mathematical intersection in mathematics, which in English we attribute to chance. But coinciding mathematical precision, held together when we're in the harmonics of happiness, in the frequency and flow of love. And when we enter that space with a clear aligned intention, we bring towards us seemingly unrelated things come towards us through synchronicity. That is God's intelligence speaking to us as divine feedback that we're in the right frequency and flow for our life. So watch out for those synchronicities popping as you get more and more into the morning ritual. They were the natural laws I wanted to feed into your operating system as to why we're doing this, and I hope that you can experience them in motion, study them a bit more, watch this video a couple more times, get acquainted with them, but get into the motion of that morning ritual. I know it's going to serve you well.